Well, the film didn't look any better than it did look in person. In fact, there were parts of it that looked worse. Trying to keep it all in perspective of where we are, and a loss is a loss. If it's a 1-point loss or a 25-point loss, but I did not like the way we played. I felt like we just didn't do the things that you need to do to win on the road, and then our youth is starting to show because we're having to get more out of more people. A week to practice is going to be good for us. We took yesterday off, try to go at it real hard today, and of course tomorrow and Thursday. We probably, I think it's, when I say it's day-to-day, it's not day-to-day, but Kyle Arns will be out for a while. It's just been so hard to have him practice, not practice, have him in the lineup, not in the lineup. So really it was a decision made by me. I just think he's broken down. It's been really hard on him during the game. We're trying to put him in, and he wants to go, doesn't know if he can go. And it's just been this Achilles ankle thing, but we've had doctors look at it, we've had everybody look at it, and I think part of it is he's been through so much in his career. So I'd like to give him a couple weeks and see if we can bring him back for the second half of the Big Ten. I think there's no reason why, if it's day to day, because if something happened and he had to play next week, he could probably play some minutes. But I just think that for his mental health and goodwill and good feeling and mine, and he was worried about the other players because he only practices part-time. So it adds to the issues of more and more youth in there. So I thought our youth, was a little bit of a problem the other day when we need some guys to step up and we just can't get a little consistency. But if I was to be really blunt and honest, since I told both guys, it was probably the worst game Cassius and Xavier played. And they're my two best players, and I have every bit the confidence that they'll bounce back. I think some of the reasons we were able to iron out in some film sessions, and yet the turnovers, the play of those two guys then leads to other issues. And we all know Aaron's got to play better. As I said, he's been rebounding the ball better. His attitude's been great. He just has found a way to kind of disappear, and we need him to appear. As far as Wisconsin goes, I think they're playing as good as anybody in the league right now. The win they had at Penn State in such a strange way. Here's a guy, Micah Potter, was 1 for 5 in the 5 games he played, and he goes 4 for 6 from the 3, and he looked like an NBA player, to be honest with you. He was hitting threes, he was putting the ball on the floor, he was doing all different things, and all of a sudden Revere was hardly playing. And the kid King has really improved from last year, which we knew. He played good against us in the Big Ten tournament. Dimitri Trice, we've all known about him forever. And Brad Davidson had, I think, 11 points and 13 rebounds in that game. So they create a problem because they post up just about everybody. And now, unlike last year when they had Hap in there, they couldn't post those guards because Hap couldn't step out. Now both Revere's and Potter can step out, and I mean long-range step out for Potter. So it just creates an opening. Their other starter forward, they've got 5 guys averaging more than 9 points a game. And so everybody gets a piece of the pie. Since Potter has come back, or come into the lineup as a transfer, they beat Tennessee. They're the only team in the league with 2 road wins and 2 pretty good places to win at. and tough home loss by 1 after they had a big lead. So we've got our work cut out for us, but as I said, I have all the faith in the world that Cash and Xavier will play better, and then it's getting our other guys going a little bit. Questions? Perfect. Love it.
Excuse me, I know experience is valuable, but then it seems like now you've got more experienced guys over on the bench acting as coaches for you.
Yeah.
I know Kyle's the kind of guy that will do whatever it takes, but I mean, for the other guys on the team, it's got to be tough seeing a guy like this who's done so much for the team still not be able to get out there.
Yeah, it kind of happened in the locker room, to be honest with you. After the game, he was just, bummed out that he couldn't do more to help. And Cassius stood up and said, hey, we know what you've given this program, just about what you're saying. So it is hard. At the same time, Kyle feels like it's unfair to Henny and to Gabe and Rocket to maybe not get the reps in practice, or wondering when you're coming in the game. And so it does you look at it, and we were laughing this morning because at the beginning of the year we put all our minutes on the board where we thought this guy would play, and we went down the list, And of course, Josh was 31 to 32 minutes a game, Cash was 32 to 33, Xavier was in the 30s, or maybe 30, and Kyle Ahrens was in the 20s. And so you're right, that's 55 minutes out of the lineup that we thought would be anchors as a senior and a fifth-year senior. And so we got to deal with it, we just got to deal with it. And I don't know what to say, except it sure isn't his fault. He's been injured since he's been in high school, and yet they've been weird injuries, who breaks their leg anymore? You just don't hear that very often. He broke both of them. And then the ankle, the back. And I think some of it he plays hard, but he worked out so hard this summer once he was, able to go, and was looking forward to a big senior year. And he still could happen, because when he's in there, we're a smoother team. We're making some mistakes defensively as well as offensively, and part of it is, it makes it smoother for him. And as Aaron said to me now, everybody's had to step up a role, and sometimes you're ready for that, sometimes you're not. Everybody wants it until it's, look where we are now. It's kind of one of those things that. We're 5-1. We've played some of our best basketball, and looking back at the Illinois, was on a long recruiting trip last night and had a chance to watch a lot of film, and looked at our Illinois game, looked at our Minnesota game. We won those games, but we still aren't putting together two halves of basketball. We're taking some bad shots. I really went over some of that with our guys. Sometimes guys feel they have to take a shot because nobody else is taking them. And so those are things we tried to clean up in a meeting yesterday and a meeting this morning, and hopefully we'll try to do a better job, get back on track, get our running game going. Somebody asked me a question about, are they going to do that to Cash? I'm watching the film. Cash did some things to Cash, and give them credit on some, give us blame on others. So.
Looking to replace Kyle's minutes. There's not a lot of minutes like the 20 that you thought he would pay, but where does
15.
Rocket fit in with that right now in terms of that maybe three-man rotation there with Gabe and
yeah, he's coming. It's I've been afraid to. Rocket gets down when he makes mistakes too, like most freshmen. But you got to remember he missed that month of practice time too. So I'm trying to work him in there, and he. No insult to you guys, because I say it to my own staff, but what you see from a play or two, and then what you don't see with mistakes that maybe don't hurt you, but they will hurt you. Like, I just got done watching our game against Wisconsin last year, And I said, you kind of realize how valuable McQuaid was because he stopped drives by himself off the ball. And you'd never see that unless you're looking for it. And so we're missing some things there. But Rocket now is practicing full as of last week. So, when you look at from December 3rd until whatever last week was, he didn't practice most of that time. And the other 2 weeks, he might have practiced half a time. So I think that's going to really help us. And it's going to probably help that he'll know when he's going in and all that stuff. That would be right. So that's the best we can do. And then we're, I still, talked about playing the two small guards some, and at times you can do that. Certain teams that post you up or that have huge guards, it's a little harder to do that. So, but they got to cover us too. It's not like anything's bare. If our best players play well, then everybody can play their role underneath them. And as I said, Batman, Robin, and the Butler got to play well, or Gotham City's in trouble. And but that's the case just about with every team, if you want the truth.
You played a number of sizable teams, good big men. It's a really good year for the league that way. And I'm wondering what you've learned, not take Xavier out of this, but about the other guys and who can match up and what you've learned about those guys specifically in this first week and a half.
Our players.
Yeah, your other bigs, other than Xavier,
Yeah, that's what's been a little frustrating. Markey has actually done a better job blocking shots. He's done a better job rebounding. His rebounds have gone up in the Big Ten, which most stats go down. He's gone up a rebound and a half, 2 rebounds a game. He's getting 6 a game playing number of minutes he does. That's pretty good, but takes some ill-advised shots and some things that, we got to try to curb a little bit. Been a little disappointed in some of them that I thought there's things that they pick up defensively that should be sound, but guys, if the truth be told, so many of these guys, if things were normal, when the year started and we thought we'd get Joey, those freshmen could be freshmen and work their way out. Even with a case like we had talked a lot about moving Gabe or Aaron to the 4 if Josh was playing, and so that we thought we'd have some versatility there. Those things all went to hell when we lost Josh. So it's not really fair that I'm critical of them because they're coming along, but they were not McDonald's All-Americans. They were supposed to step in here as freshmen. I'd say right now, Markey's improved in some things defensively, still some assignments. The guy that I thought would help us the most was Malik, and he struggled with some assignments. Kithier has done okay, and yet sometimes he just gets out-strengthened and sized. And the guy that I think's coming on a little bit is Julius, but it's hard to play 4 guys at that position. I've done that a little bit. I've done it by necessity. But I still feel pretty comfortable that, again, everybody's got similar problems. If Minnesota's depth isn't, great, and Illinois' depth inside isn't great, and Michigan's starting to play some of those guys and struggles with it at times, and even Purdue, kid comes in and hits 3 threes and plays the game of his career, and if he can do that again, that's good. But if not, that's like getting mesmerized by Malik hitting 3 threes against Seton Hall. So maybe that one came back to bite us, So I'm not disappointed with any of them. I just think that it's going to take some time. What I really feel that has hurt us a little bit is, that at kind of that period of time when I said we really weren't practicing very good or very much. And then when I thought Christmas we'd get some, and then it was Rocket, Cassius, and Kyle out for those practices. It makes it harder to have good practices. So we're still developing our team. We're 5-1, and that's damn good considering what we've been through. And yet I think the next couple of weeks now is going to determine a lot, because we're going to have to play better than we've been playing if we're going to win games, and we got to get a little more consistency out of our big three.
Okay. After watching the film, what did you like from Julius? I just keep thinking about that play he had underneath the basket at the end of the first half, and maybe how much you want him to do that more going forward, especially just knowing how big other teams are in the conference.
Yeah, what Julius has that the others don't maybe, he's got long arms. He's not much bigger than them, a little, but he's probably more body ready. He's a strong kid. He's a tough kid. He's a very smart kid. And so I think if, and remember now, we were worried that Julius wouldn't be able to play this year back in October because of a little bit of an injury and ailment. He could have been out for the year, and it worked out for us. But so, we kind of put him on the back burner then, but he's heated up a little bit now, and I think we could get more out of him. But you got to get consistent with somebody. It's hard to go 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever it adds up to. I guess 12, 12, 12, and 4. I don't know. But it's hard to do that, and believe me, I know it's not the right thing to do, but sometimes the situations put you in a position where you have to do it, and sometimes, like I told Aaron, you gotta step outside the box. Maybe I do too, and just go with two of them and see where it takes us. Decisions that I'll have to make. Come on, Hondo, you don't have 2 questions for me? Damn it, this is not a right press conference.
Tom, where do you feel the ceiling is for these guys right now? I mean, where do you think, 5-1 start?
That's a good question. I think the ceiling is still high. I don't think it's. I said at the beginning of the year, I said at the middle, and I said at the end. At the beginning of the year, I thought the ceiling was very high. When Josh went down, I was concerned where the ceiling was, and then with all the things that have happened, it's hard for me to evaluate where the ceiling is. But we've played pretty good ball against just about everybody. I'd say our Duke game here was a letdown, and I'd say that game the other day was, but I'd say of the other 15 games, there was very good basketball played at times, and we competed with any and everybody, and I still think we can. Our margin for error is less. Our margin for error is less than it was, and every time you lose a player, especially an experienced player, that margin goes down a little bit. But I haven't changed what I feel. I think the conference is still incredibly good. I think we have just as good a chance as anybody else. I just think that it's amazing how things go. Ohio State started out like a ball of fire, and then they've struggled a little bit. Well, one of the reasons they struggled, they lost one guy. First they lost Washington for a game. They lost that game, and then they lost Young for a couple games. Then he came back, and they don't seem quite in sync yet. I tried to explain it to you that the transfer and the things that are going on is going to leave less depth for everybody, or less quality depth, and there's going to be these kind of things that are happening. And you know what? I was right. Forget Michigan State. It's happening all over. And then at the other side of it, you take a team like Wisconsin, who was struggling early, and now is playing their best basketball. Is it because of one guy? Well, that one guy had 24 and 13, so that's not a normal guy in their last road game at Penn State. But he's also a guy with experience. I don't know what year he is, but I think he was 2 years at Ohio State, right? And then he came here, and so he's got some experience to him. So that's going to be, I think, the big key is always your best players. I have no question Cassius is healthy. I think he'll have some great games, and I also said that there's going to be days here and there for a variety of reasons. Sometimes teams take him out of it. Sometimes it could be a bad day. But I have all the faith in the world in him. And Xavier's been our most consistent player if you really got right down to it. So for those two guys to have question mark games, and you got to give Purdue credit. I mean, they played as good as they could play. You know, I think he said it, they said it, and they played awfully well. So where's the ceiling? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows where their ceiling is right now. I know this. I think we can get better. I think we can get a lot better than we are. We're 5-1 in the league. We're 13-4 overall. So I still feel very good at where we can get to. I don't feel as good at where we're at right now. Well, why would you when you get beat by 100, 2 days later?
My question is kind of about that. How have you seen them react to, pretty big swing going from playing as well as you guys were to a game like that you haven't experienced?
Well, I told them that you guys are going to make me cringe when the media is right about something. I said, I told you guys when you asked me the question, or it was asked to me by, maybe it was TV, but I think just in general, I have a tendency to lump all you guys together. Did you come off an emotional win against Michigan? And then, because we didn't play that well against Minnesota either. Thought we played pretty well against Illinois, good team, and played pretty well against Michigan. But I didn't think we played that good against Minnesota. And I said to you, I doubt it, I don't see why, but never underestimate an 18-year-old. And never underestimate Twitter. I get such a kick out of when my buddies call me or my assistants will tell me something. And, I think Aaron's going through a tough time now a little bit. And, some of the tweets are, don't start him. You better get back after him. You better do this. You better do that. You know what? That's why I said to you, that's why I don't listen to it and I don't watch it. But at the same time, I think kids, the highs are too high and the lows are too low. And I think we got to realize that we are not a great basketball team. We have a potential to become a very good basketball team. And the margin for error is this big. I think around the country, the margin for error for a lot of those teams, it was at Washington that started out house on fire, and now they've lost 4 in a row, I think. It's just the way it is. I don't like it, but I would say this. I don't think there's many teams out there head and shoulders above a lot of teams in anybody's conference, including the Big Ten. I think there's a lot of parity right now, and parity is good for people, but it's hard for people to relate to because it's not what they're used to. And so I said that, think of it, we're 5-1. I bet you when I heard some guy say, boy, Michigan State was playing, they shouldn't have trouble with anybody. And I started laughing that sometimes we can't beat our scout team, So I said 5 losses will probably win the Big Ten, and I'll bet you half of you left here thinking I was on drugs or Dilaclue, one of the two. And the truth of it is, I haven't changed my opinion in one way, shape, or form. I still think there's going to be a lot more losses out there for everybody, and how we deal with them. And that's why I was trying, listen, there's no excuse to play like we played. That shouldn't fall on the players. That should fall on the head coach, because that was ridiculous, okay? Getting beat there's no shame in that. So that's why I was trying to keep things in a little bit of perspective, because I could feel I'm a good body language reader, and I could feel where everybody's body language was going. And shame on me for not realizing maybe where my own team's body language was going. I didn't see any less effort or less in practice. But you just don't get the practice like you used to, you know. That management stuff has taken over the world now, you know, where I think everybody worries about everybody working too hard. In most of the cases, people don't work harder. You know, Aaron asked me, well, what should I do? I said the same thing I did. I lost. I just went back to work. And whatever I did, I turned that knob up about four digits. I said, and that's what everybody's got to do. But the way of the world now is get some rest and load management it, you know. I just don't believe in it. It's never been that way, and it never will be that way for me. So I'm still the guy that should be held accountable.
It doesn't happen often, but like it did on Sunday when Cassius gets kind of taken out of the game the way that he did. How do you make sure that the other guys don't somewhat look lost in a way when they're out there on the floor when he's not there running the offense?
I just got out of an hour meeting with Cash and went through every ounce of that film to show him that, you know, he is such an unselfish kid, and yet it looked selfish in that game a little bit but it was because everybody else was standing around. And I still remember the first year or two I got here, you know, Magic gave that great line that I've used for 25, 24 years, you know. Great players play great, but elite players make other players play great. So the theme in practice today is who can make somebody else better? And that would keep them more involved. But even in Aaron Henry, you know, if he's not shooting it great, the way he can get into the paint, can he get somebody else a shot? Can he make somebody else better? So that will be the theme of the day and maybe the weekend. Who can make somebody else better? My challenge to Cassius, as great as you've been, if you want to take one more step, can you make some of the guys around you even better than they are? And that's what usually separates great teams from championship teams. It usually separates. I'm watching that tape last year. Kenny Goins hits 3 threes in the first half. You know, remember in the rest of the tournament, I don't think he made, well, he did make one, you know, but I don't think he, only one, but important one, but they all count one, I guess, but he made one. But in that game, he made 3, you know, and other people were involved. So, they took him out of it a little bit, but even look at, Cash had 3 knockdown, dead look, nobody near him threes in that game that I would have bet, you know, my wife and life on, and he didn't make them, you know, and that's, I mean, he's allowed to have a pedestrian-like day, you know, if you ask me, and I just didn't like the way we all responded, you know, and when we got it back to 11, 12, and we were in that 3-4 minute stretch, we had 3-4 crazy turnovers, trying to do too much. We had 2 ill-advised shots, and you just don't get to do that. And that's usually youth doing something that they're. So I told them, you know, we had a meeting at 7 this morning. I'm going to take my 20 hours from the NCAA. I'm using 19 hours, 59 minutes, 59.9 seconds. So it's going to be film sessions, practice, film sessions, and realize these freshmen have got to start. And then I'm going to encourage Cassius to have some captains meetings so we can bring these freshmen around a little faster. Anything else? Yes.
With going back to Rocket, with you needing more of him now, with Kyle out, with him coming off an injury, just sort of getting back to it, all those things combined, does getting him those point guard reps and sort of grooming him in that role put on pause a little bit, or is he still able to do both, even considering the higher uptick?
Well, putting him on pause, if you mean, am I thinking about next year? Not even for 1/100th of a second. If you mean, Would I get him some reps? Actually, I've been pleased with Foster, how he's playing in there. Cash is still going to play a lot of minutes. But now be even more of a time trying to home him in on doing what he can do, because since we've got him to kind of shot selection's gotten a little better. He went from shooting 22%, then in the league he's shooting 48%. Now the next thing is the threes. He's shooting good from the line. He does guard maybe as good as anybody on the ball. Now we got to get his off-the-ball defense. But considering that kid came here 6 weeks late in the summer and then, missed all that time, his progress isn't good because you need him. And if Josh and Arnie were here, he could just kind of, the progress would be made from the process that you take, and that has been all speeded up. And I think if he hadn't been injured all that time, he'd be farther ahead too. So I'm not tickled with how he plays all the time, but I'm tickled to death at where he is compared to where I thought he could be at. And is that going to get ratcheted up? Yeah. And some of that's going to be on me, and some of it's going to be on him. He's going to have to, spending time, those guys, I just asked them to spend a quarter as amount of time as they spend on Xbox and 1/10 the amount of time as they spend on Twitter. And if I could do that, I'm telling you, this team will go. He'll go. I don't think he's a big Twitter guy, but he'll go up and they'll go up, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I really have a lot of faith in the because he's a tough kid who's battled through some of these things, and it's frustrating for him. He thinks he should be able to just shoot like he used to be able to shoot, and I mean, to his own admission, shot selection and number of shots you get sometimes playing in some events compared to any major college are a little different. He probably had as many shots as Cash has on a good day at halftime sometimes, and that's just not the way it is. And I don't care where you go, it's not the way it is. But he is a priority because I think he has a lot he can give to grow, but not as much as Aaron right now. I mean, Aaron has the experience, and I think Aaron knows it. And I think, as I said, the enjoyable part for me with Aaron is I think all the things we harped on last year, now he's saying, like I said about Judd, to my secretary, Lori, I used to hate all the things he did, and not all of them, but some of them. And every year I went by, I used to walk in there and say, now I know why he did this, and now I know why he did that. And I'm getting from Aaron, now I see what you meant by this, and now I see what you meant by that. But there are habits that are hard to change, and I think he has lost some confidence. And by the way, if you get caught writing, that a coach should give you, somebody give me that pill. If you got that pill that gives you confidence, bring it to me so I can have one of those. But they don't usually come in a box or in a bag. They usually come from blood, sweat, and tears on the work you do. And so right now he's got to work his way out of it. And with his attitude the way it is, I got no question he will.
Tom, you mentioned before the Purdue game that you weren't sure that your freshmen were ready for an atmosphere like Mackey Arena. I'm just curious if taking one on the chin down there will help better prepare them for games like that and tough environments like that.
Yeah, I do got to admit, I've been down there a million times, and there's a lot of places that are hard to play on the road. I thought that some of you that were down there, that place was rocking pretty good, and I think our place has been rocking pretty good, but when you're a freshman and you go on the road, it was good in Seton Hall, but that's not like a Big Ten arena. And so does that help? Sure. Any experience you get helps. And that's why experience is worth more than age. It's why it's worth more than skill. We were talking about those top teams right now, whether it be Kansas or whether it be Louisville. You're talking about guys that have 4 and 5 seniors. And you're going to see that becoming more of a factor now, either between guys leaving early or guys transferring. And so people don't necessarily develop as much within a program, and it's a little more, I don't know. We were talking about, they've got a player or two that was playing really well early that transferred and now hardly plays. It's the battles that we're all going to have now in this world of musical chairs. And thank God, I haven't had a lot of guys moving or leaving, so it's just a matter of getting some of those young guys that have to play because of some injuries better, quicker. There was one more.
You talked about the confidence factor, and that you have a couple guys who have admitted themselves, like Henry and Brown, sometimes they get into their own heads. As a coach with that, how do you maybe, you want guys to know they're making mistakes, but you don't want them to dwell on them. Rather, what you want them to work through, how do you change that in a kid to keep them from fixating on it?
I heard an interesting thing from a professional that I talked to about that, and it's just so ironic. I think of my own personality, and I think of how I feel sometimes, and it's usually one that gets ripped in public, but one of them was, it's not okay to be sad, it's okay to be mad. One time I'd like to see Aaron mad. And when you get mad, you usually are going to do something about it. When you get sad, you're usually letting the situation beat you. And so it's one of the things that I will be talking to him about tonight. Yesterday I was on the road all day, so I'm going on the road tonight, so I'm going to try to find some late night time to maybe talk to him about that, but the good news that's different for me is Aaron's grown up a lot in learning, what he needs to do. I mean, if you asked him, he knows he's not playing as well as he can, and he has worked pretty hard, and his attitude's been really good, but he needs to take a few more shots. I must have told him 3 times in that game, you got to shoot the ball, you're wide open. And he was shooting the ball as good as anybody there for a while. But who knows what gets in the kids' heads that come out of those damn phones nowadays, what they read is usually how they feel, and that's the new dilemma that coaches have to deal with. And I think you think I'm trying to make that a big deal. I think it's a way bigger deal than you think. And so we do have to deal with that, where before we could just coach the kid. Now you got to figure out. But thank God it's been good for me this year, because I've sort of learned how to deal with a lot of different things that I think are going to make me better in the long run, whatever long is left, but better in the long run. But a little painful in the short run. And so it'll be good to see how we respond from a butt kicking. We haven't had many of those around here. Although when I say that, I have a former manager who's now an assistant coach at the Orlando Magic, Steve Hetzel, and I got a text when I got in the bus, "Coach, remember, in 2005 we got beat by 30 at home by Illinois, and we went to a Final Four." And I said, "Damn, I don't remember that at all." So goes to show that when you do get your butt kicked, it's sort of short-term memory, I hope. And but it's been an interesting year, guys, but it's been a good year too. So we're getting closer to the halfway part of the season, and there's going to be some bumps and there's going to be some highlights, and hopefully these things help you grow as a team. Any adversity usually helps you grow as a team if you got people that get it. And I got 2 guys that really do understand it. I mean, Cassius and Xavier really do understand. It didn't take long for them to remember last year 3 losses in a row. You just lose perspective in these jobs so much, and that's why I was trying to dampen, not you guys. You guys were fine, but the general public, I thought they were going to call Kel and see if we get some 20-0 shirts or something, are you crazy or what, But that's today. And, it'll be interesting when you ask the players the same questions tonight. I think, some of them you're gonna see in their body language. I mean, why wouldn't you be a little nervous if you're a freshman right now and you just got your bell rung? You should be a little nervous. What you do about it, do you get angry and vow that that's not gonna happen? Or do you lay down and die and say, oh, well, they got me on next year? That's kind of the mission now. That's kind of, you had to go through it. They got to go through it. I went through it a long time ago. I just kind of grind. That's what I do. I just grind, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grind till the day I leave this place. And the more grinding you do, the better how the outcome will be. I promise you that. It's my load management. I'm going to tell you about my load management. It's going to be turned up, okay? So maybe I should do it the other way, but it ain't happening. All right, thanks.